Hello, February lovers. Can you believe we are on the 12th of February, which means in 2 days' time, it is Valentine's Day. And I hope that you are having, or planning at least, a fantastic time with your loved ones. But in the meantime, today, I wanted to tackle one of my favorite topics. It's about creating processes, but not just processes for the sake of processes, even though that can be fun. Rather, it's looking at processes that are geared at creating efficiencies, firstly, and saving you time, secondly, because otherwise, what's the point, right? So processes are looking past the why and the what of what we do, and instead it starts looking at how we do it. Now, there are many reasons that we need good processes in our business. Some of which include, and I'll just mention a few, right? So firstly, it's about creating structure for your employees. So that helps if there's a situation of needing to be cross-training, having manuals in place, or even onboarding new employees in a position, and that will give them the opportunity to learn the process and learn their responsibilities so much faster. Secondly, it's about making sure that everything is done the same way every single time, which means that you have consistency and high quality in every single instance. That's a good one, right? Then the third one is about helping to reduce the risk of certain steps being left out. How often have you gone through a process, for example, if you've onboarded a new client and you realize further down the line, oh, whoops, there was something I left out. I didn't onboard them properly, or I didn't have the right contracts in place, or, it was maybe someone has even dropped out of the funnel because you haven't followed the right processes. And then fourthly, it helps you to save time if you can do it right. Now, that is really my focus, and that is what I'm passionate about. As you would know, all of our hashtag productivity sessions are all about making sure that you are saving time, and making sure you have the right processes in place is one of the ways that we can do that. I have found that having good processes in place, which might even include making sure that you have the right people in the right position, can go a long way to creating engagement in the workplace. And that's a hashtag throwback to the session that we had last week. And it also helps to create certainty and clarity about expectations. How often have you been in a situation where there's been this expectation gap, right? Either due to lack of communication or just actually not having the right systems in place to make sure that everyone knows what is expected of them at any given point in time, right? So that is where the right process will help you a lot. So if you thought, or if you think that you don't have any processes, or maybe you just are not even sure how to go about finding processes that could potentially be more efficient or how you can save time, I want you to think about a few things. Firstly, think about activities that you do often. So what are the triggers that start an activity? Think about, for example, receiving an email from a prospective client. Once you receive that email, what do you do with it? And do you do the same thing with them every time? Should you be doing the same thing with them every time if you do not? Or maybe think about whether it ends up in your CRM automatically or not. Or is there a very manual process that you have to follow to make sure that it follows through the steps, if there are even any steps? Then the second thing I want you to think about is who is doing this process. Maybe there are different people doing different parts of the process, that's fine. But think about whether or not it's the right person to be doing that section of the process. So if you think about all of the tasks that you do, are there things that you can delegate? So think about the freedom compass that we spoke about last year, and think about the complexity of the tasks that you are dealing with. If they are very simple tasks, then think about maybe getting rid of some of that and delegating it to a more junior person. Or maybe think about tasks that a junior person is not doing well that should potentially become part of your responsibility again. Okay, so it could go both ways. But also think about whether or not those tasks are working towards the strengths of that person. Think if you have allocated the tasks based on what they are good at. So are they in their desire zone or not? And this comes down to the way that you have recruited your team as well. And we also spoke about that last week. So just think about all of these things. The who that does it is quite important as well. And then thirdly, think about ways that you could potentially automate the process. If you think about the different parts in your process, there could be parts that has to be done by a person, but there could be other things that could be done automatically through software or through artificial intelligence, or there are lots of tools available. And I get so excited about tools. I'm sure you know that by now. But again, a CRM tool might be a good example here, where as soon as you get a prospective client, you can trigger a certain process to be activated. That could include, for example, sending out template emails that you've already crafted and drafted, and it's really just as simple as a click of a button. You don't have to go write those things up all the time, every single time, and hope you got it right. So that is an example of ways that we can automate it. And then fourthly, think about what you can do once and do right in an attempt to make sure that in future it will always be done correctly. Now, automations may take a lot of time initially as you start setting things up, as you start thinking through them, and if you're planning them, it can take time. But if it's done correctly, it's going to save you so much time in the long term. So that little bit of time investment that you're putting in upfront, it's going to pay off in the long term. Next week, I'm actually interviewing one of my clients where we've been working on doing a system migration for them, moving from something that has been very manual to something that's much more automated and so much better. I don't want to take away don't want to steal the thunder from next week, but we also are looking at ways to simplify and automate some of their processes that will help save them time. So definitely make sure you're tuning in for that next week. It's going to be great. So in summary, processes are things that we do on a regular basis. So even a few seconds or a couple of minutes that you can shave off of a single process will potentially help you save a significant amount of time, depending on how often you do it. So I really want to encourage you to look at this. And if you're trying to figure out what the right processes should be in your business, or potentially even if you have things that you feel are taking too much time that should hopefully be able to be done faster, I want to invite you to have a conversation with me. I can guarantee you that we'll be able to find ways to save you time and save you money just because of the right systems and the right processes that you have in place. So just a final reminder to check out our #Finance Friday session next week, where we are going to be interviewing our client. I'm so excited for it. It's going to be on fire. So keen. So I'll see you next week. Bye.